Welcome back to AI transformation. So here's the wild part. A robot that looks like a human just walked onto a stage, stood up on its own, waved to the audience, and is now being prepared to work in real factories by the year 2028. Not in a lab, not in a sci-fi movie. In an actual car factory. And the company behind it? Boston Dynamics with their humanoid robot Atlas. But here's the real question. Are we watching the beginning of something huge, or are we being shown a very polished demo that hides a lot of problems? Stay with me, because this gets way more interesting than you think. If you've never heard of Boston Dynamics before, they're basically the people who made those viral robots doing backflips, dancing, and running like animals. You've probably seen their dog robot spot at some point. But Atlas is different. This is a full humanoid robot. 2 arms, 2 legs, human-sized, designed to work in the same environments we do. And recently, at the massive tech event CES 2026, Atlas was shown live to the public for the first time, not just walking, not just standing, moving naturally, reacting, even interacting with the audience. And here's the key part. This isn't just a research project anymore. This is becoming a product. But what most people missed is that the real breakthrough isn't the robot's body, it's the brain. Let's rewind a bit. Boston Dynamics has been building robots for over 30 years. Early 2000s, robots like Big Dog walking on rough terrain. 2010, machines carrying 400 pounds. 2023, Atlas doing parkour and insane flips. But here's the twist. None of that was actually useful in real jobs. It looked amazing, but it didn't solve real problems. Then in 2024, something changed. They rebuilt Atlas as a fully electric robot, quieter, more efficient, more practical. And then in 2025, they started focusing on one specific task, factory work, things like moving parts, organizing materials, doing repetitive tasks. Fast forward to CES 2026. Atlas is no longer just doing tricks. It's preparing to work. And here's where things get serious. Because Atlas is not being built alone. Behind Atlas, there's a huge ecosystem. First, Hyundai Motor Group. They bought Boston Dynamics and now plan to deploy Atlas in their factories. Why? Simple. Labor. Factories need workers for repetitive, physically demanding tasks. Atlas can lift up to 50 kilograms, work in temperatures from -20 to 40 degrees Celsius, and run basically all day with battery swaps. Second, Google DeepMind. This is where the intelligence comes from. They're helping Atlas learn faster, adapt to new tasks, and eventually understand instructions in plain English. And third, competition. Companies like Figure, Apptronic, and others are racing to build their own humanoid robots. This is turning into a full-on robotics race. But let's break down what Atlas can actually do, because this is where things get crazy. Even something simple like picking up a car part is insanely complex. Atlas first needs to see the object. It starts with 2-dimensional perception, basically identifying objects using bounding boxes and key points. Then it builds 3-dimensional awareness. It figures out where the object is in space relative to itself by matching what it sees with stored models. But here's the tricky part. Factories are messy, objects overlap, things get hidden, some parts look identical, so Atlas uses extra internal key points, tracking over time, and spatial expectations to avoid confusion. And then comes manipulation. It uses a system called Super Tracker, combining vision, movement, and even force feedback to track objects, even when they're not visible anymore. Think about that. The robot can remember where something is, even if it temporarily loses sight of it. Then it constantly checks and refines its understanding, filtering bad data and combining multiple inputs. And all of this depends on precise calibration. If the robot's eyes and hands are even slightly out of sync, it fails. Now here's the part that changes everything. Atlas is not just programmed, it learns. Instead of being told exactly how to move, Atlas uses something called reinforcement learning. Basically, trial and error. It tries movements, gets feedback, improves, and repeats. At first, it might move awkwardly, but over time, it learns smoother, more efficient motion. Human motion capture is just the starting point. After that, the robot optimizes itself. And one of the biggest breakthroughs? It can transition between movements, walking to running, running to crawling, smoothly. That's something robots have struggled with for decades. Most robots are stiff. Atlas is starting to look alive. And this training usually happens in simulation first, so the robot can practice thousands of times without breaking itself. Then the best behaviors get transferred to the real machine. So yeah, this is not just a robot. This is a learning system in a physical body. So, what does all of this actually mean? Short term. You'll start seeing robots like Atlas in factories, not everywhere, not replacing everyone, but handling repetitive, dangerous tasks, lifting heavy objects, working in harsh environments. That reduces injuries, increases efficiency. Long term, this could completely reshape labor, not overnight, but gradually. Jobs don't disappear instantly. they evolve. Instead of doing physical work, humans might supervise, train, and manage robots. But here's the debate. Some people say, this is amazing. Safer jobs, higher productivity, better quality of life. Others worry about job loss, especially in industries that rely on manual labor, and both sides have a point. And here's the part that affects you directly. Even if you never work in a factory, this still matters, because robots like Atlas could lower production costs. That means cheaper products, faster manufacturing, more automation in everyday life, but also new types of jobs, robot operators, maintenance, AI trainers. We're already seeing this with self-driving cars, AI tools, automation everywhere. This is just the next step. And if you've watched my previous videos on humanoids like Neo, Figure 03, or Unitree G1, you already know this space is exploding. Atlas is just one piece of a much bigger trend. So, here's my take. We're at the early stage of something massive. Not hype, but also not fully ready. Atlas is incredibly impressive, but it still has limitations. Dexterity, cost, reliability over long periods. Those are hard problems, but the direction is clear. Robots are moving from controlled demos into real-world environments, and once that starts scaling, things accelerate fast. My prediction, by the early 2030s, you'll see humanoid robots in multiple industries, factories first, warehouses next, then slowly expanding into more complex environments. Homes will take longer, much longer, but it will happen. And honestly, the biggest change won't be the robots themselves, it'll be how normal they become. So, now I want to hear from you. Do you think robots like Atlas are a good thing? Would you trust a humanoid robot working next to you, or do you think this is moving too fast? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read a lot of them, and this is one of those topics where different opinions actually matter. And if you've ever worked in a factory, warehouse, or any physical job, I'd really want to hear your perspective. Also, if you enjoyed this breakdown, check out my other videos on Neo, Figure 03, and Unitree G1, because this story is just getting started. Subscribe if you want more deep dives like this. And yeah, this is not the future anymore, it's already happening.